Yeah, hi everybody, Light Walker here, coming to recap a hike I did earlier this week on the Tunxis Trail. I call it Tunxis Trail North, from Route 20 in Hartland to Route 219 in Barkhamsted, heading southbound. 9.2 miles, total elevation of 1,250 feet. Temperature at the start was 54 degrees Fahrenheit, virtually no wind, high humidity, 87%, 51 degree dew point. And there's the trailhead off Route 20. The sign is, the trail is clearly marked. And as you can see in the next slide, there's plenty of room for parking. You could probably fit at least a half dozen, maybe a dozen cars in there if you parked them carefully. I pretty much had the place to myself because it was a weekday. The trail starts off just beautiful, very wide, easy to navigate, very flat the first couple of miles. There's a little bit of an uphill ascent, but as you can see, it's very gradual, so pretty much no problem at all. There's a little field that it opens up into about a half mile in. And you can see the trail marker to the right there. And basically, if you take a right on that road, then you will be on the trail. The first third of this hike is on roads because they do a lot of the logging of the hemlock trees out of there. The hemlock trees in that part of the state are a dying breed. They're getting attacked by these beetles from Asia, and there's no way to stop it. So they're basically just harvesting them out, and they're allowing other tree species to take their place. There's a tree with quite a bit of character, well marked. And here's what I call the first water crossing, if you can call it that. Just a small stream, only a few feet wide. It's a picture of the stream closer up. And a little video of it. It hadn't rained for a couple of days, so this is what was left of the runoff from a couple of days ago. At this point, we are just under a mile into the hike. Here's looks like a little bench some loggers made. I don't know if it's a practical joke or what, but it's a good place to sit if you're tired after hiking a mile. There's a cool bridge that someone built, very well built. I even have a video of it coming up with me crossing it. Not sure why I took the video, I just thought it was pretty cool. I've seen other hikers do the same. That's the biggest rock so far. That thing is about 10-12 feet high. And that's I think that is a different bridge. There's a couple of these bridges in the area. And here's me coming across it. I'm laughing at the socks, those are the only clean socks I had in my drawer that day, so the rest of me I'm wearing black and camouflage black. And more of the hemlocks. What's left of them. And here's a junction. Pretty much that marker means you need to take a left to continue there. And you continue underneath that fallen tree. Don't even have to duck. That thing's a good 8-10 feet off the ground. And more roads. A lot of roads in the first third of the mile. If I didn't already say that, I'm saying it again. Don't mind. Just a lot of road. If you don't like to hike on road, this is not the trail for you. Here's some detail. You could pause it if you want. Tell you why the hemlocks are dying. And a toll-free number if you want any more information on it. At this point, we are 2.7 miles into the hike. Pretty much the terrain has been pretty much flat so far. And that's a big log that someone apparently cut down many years ago, and I thank them for that. And here we get into some mud. Some of these trails get pretty muddy, so just make sure that try to walk around it if the mud gets deep. A lot of it's really nice like this. Most of it's actually very nice and dry. There's only a few, really just a small, maybe 1% of it is muddy. So overall, I'm really impressed at the condition of the trails. This is probably one of the wettest areas I had to cross over. A little wet there, a little slippery, but no major hassle. And then you're back into this beautiful, soft trail, very similar to People's Forest, which is about 10 miles east of there. I'm sorry, west of there. And here's the first ravine you get to. You notice you have to go down a little ways to get to the stream and then hike back up. At this point we are 3.5 miles, and yeah, you can see in the topo that that ravine cuts in pretty seriously and drains out into the reservoir. And this is a larger picture from my All Trails app. Shows you that we're about a third of the way into the hike here. And then it's just basically a really nice trail. That's probably the steepest elevation I encountered all day. That's really nothing, maybe a 2 or a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10. And then just beautiful new vegetation up there. Leaves popping, everything's green, very few insects. There's a tree with some character. Beautiful trail going under it. And here's a rock wall showing that I believe that was maybe an old property line or maybe a farm line. Can't go past that because the area is blocked off. That's could be arrested. It's considered trespassing by the Metropolitan District. There's just another small water feature. You can just basically hike around, no problem at all. And part of it does go over private property, probably no more than a quarter mile, half mile at the most, but it's clearly marked. And these mushrooms I've never seen in my life before. If anyone knows what they are, appreciate it. They look like caramel ice cream treats or something. Really weird. This rock looks like a whale or a face on it. See the mouth, curved mouth, and the nose and the eyes? Very interesting. And if you get up close, you can see that it's crystal quartz rock, the whole thing. It's just massive. Then the trail just cuts up through some mountain laurel. About here is where I saw the tail of a bobcat go across the trail. I just caught it out of the glimpse of my eye. Wish I had a picture of it, but it was gone by the time I got there. This is probably the steepest part of the trail you hike on. Not very steep. And here's another little jaunt down to another ravine. And here's a fallen tree that you just pretty much have to step over. I'm not sure if that was left there by the loggers or if it's a blowdown. Not sure. And it looks like another stream that I crossed. But there's rocks, so you don't get wet. And more muddy roads again. If you don't mind walking on the side to keep your boots dry, it's no problem at all getting through these wet spots. Maybe more of a problem for the vehicles and the hikers. This is looks like a fairly recent blowdown across the trail. I have to call the CFPA see if someone can get up there with a massive chainsaw and remove it. And here's a road that we pretty much cross over. Actually go down, not cross over. This talks about the witch hazel harvest. If you want to pause the video, if you can read it, great. If not, I'll give you a recap. It's one of the few places in the world where this stuff is harvested. And I found some of it later on and took a picture of it. You can see the unique appearance of the leaves there. And more mountain laurel. This part of the trail, it starts getting really beautiful when we get away from the roads and you get up to this peak. I think it's called Pine Knoll. It's 5.2 miles into the hike, and it's by far the best view in the entire hike. You can actually see Springfield, Massachusetts from out there. If you pause the video, it's right in the center of the screen right about now. And there's the valley just south of it. And See the next mountain range. You could probably see for a good 40-50 miles from that viewpoint. And there's the trail on the right. Yep. At this point we are 5.2 miles into the hike. And there's the elevation chart. It shows you that we are now up to about 1,353 feet of elevation. Lowest elevation was 894. Then the trail is just beautiful from here on out. There's Mount Laurel. There's a pine forest. Just absolutely beautiful. That in itself would be a beautiful hike. Starting at 219, going up to that knoll and coming back. That's about a 8-mile round trip hike, maybe 8.5 tops. That would be a beautiful hike. This slide, if you want to pause the screen, you could read about the regeneration harvest I mentioned earlier. Looks like someone got carried away with buckshot there. This pretty much tells you to go left toward the Indian caves. It's really a bunch of rocks where I guess Indians might have done some ceremonies near there, maybe 300, 400, 500 years ago. And you just basically take these roads to get there. Get a little bit of mud, no problem. This one you can just walk in the middle of the road, not even get your boots wet. Here's a marshy area at the bottom of the hill. Nice view on the left side of the trail there. And you pretty much go straight, and it's just beautiful pine needle covered trail. Soft and really good on the feet, the ankles. Here's a bridge you do not want to go over. The actual trail actually circumvents around this bridge. So if you're brave and you want to go over it, fine. But just as fair warning, you're not on the trail. And you're going to miss these primitive shelters. Looks like someone created these to show you how people might have made shelters a long time ago. And this is where you need to cross over the stream to get back up to where that bridge was. I kind of wish that bridge was in working order, because this was it's a short stream, but it's a slippery one. As you can see, to cross, the rocks are a good 4 to 5 feet apart, and good chance you're going to get wet. There's another primitive campsite there. Looks like it was just recently used. And you basically walk back up to the trail to get back to that bridge. It's no more than maybe 1/10 of a mile to get around the broken bridge. Then you get to another marsh on the left side of the trail, and here there's some old foundations. Looks like they date back to colonial time, and I know this because I'm pretty sure about this because they look very similar to the ones in People's Forest, and People's Forest did date back to colonial time as well. It's a pretty scary tree, or a tree with a lot of character. It depends which way you look at it, I guess. Excuse me. And there's what's left of another foundation. This one's almost completely intact, although there's some trees growing through it. And here the trail gently ascends back into a forest. A little bit of uphill, not much. And then you can get to these Indian rocks. If you want to pause this, you could see my poles at the bottom of the tree in the middle of the screen. That shows you that these rocks are at least 20, if not 25 feet tall. And the trail actually goes to the left of those rocks. This is probably the most challenging part of the whole hike. But again, it's no more than a 3 or a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Trail's plenty wide. You know, if you're elderly, you might need someone to give you a hand to get up the steepest part. And this is near the top. This is looking down from the top of those boulders. The areas in between the boulders, the trail going up there on the left. Rocks of all different sizes and shapes in the middle. And another massive rock. This one looks like it goes up about 30 feet. And this tree is actually growing up toward the top of it. So here we are 6.9 miles into the hike. And if you do your math from the other direction, I believe it's about 3.4 miles, maybe 2.4 miles from the route 219 there. And this is a view from the top of those rocks. And then we start heading back south through Mountain Laurel. little higher elevation here. It's a small tree you got to duck under. Ferns! Ferns are just starting to come up. I love ferns. They're just beautiful. When I was growing up, we had them all in our backyard, and I just loved to watch them grow almost every day until they were, every spring they'd come up, just like clockwork. Beautiful pine-covered trail, you can see. Beautifully maintained. This isn't a field that it opens up into. Not sure what these are called, but these were on one side of the trail shortly after we passed the ferns. Then we get down to this, looks like a man-made bridge. There's a little pipe and a stream flowing under that. And then we basically continue into through this pine forest. Just beautiful. It smelled like a new car in there. Fresh air, very soft trail. Very tall trees. Talks about hunting. They do allow hunting here, but permit only in November and December, and it pretty much tells you where not to go. It's a good safety tip, I guess, if you're hiking that time of year. You can see someone built these nice stairs for us to climb up. God bless their hearts. And here's a cool hemlock tree just growing right over the trail, providing some shade on a hot summer's day. It's a massive tree with a lot of character, growing just to the right of the trail. If you don't know by now, I like trees. And we're at the end of the hike, and you can see my car on the right, just a small road off of Route 219. And at this point, we've gone 9.2 miles, just over 4 hours and 47 minutes total time. Moving time was less. I believe moving time was about 3 hours, 45 minutes. And you can see the terrain. You can see the highest point was 5.2 miles into the peak, that overlook. And the temperature at the end was 66 degrees. The humidity had dropped to 50% because it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 1:30. And that's a summary of the hike. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get out there and try out part of the trail, especially the bottom third. And this is Lightwalker signing off.